Hi everybody, welcome to Album Book Club for another installment of a blind album listen. This is one that I picked here for Steven. He's never heard it before. I'm really looking forward to it because this album has gained quite a bit of traction fairly recently. This is a full LP, unlike the EPs we've done before. We've got 8 tracks coming up. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
This album is Brasilian Skies by Masayoshi Takanaka. He is a Japanese artist. This album came out in 1978. The reason that this album has taken off recently is a movement called citypop. My introduction to this album is more through the jazz fusion idiom. This is a desert island album, honestly, for me. You know, if I only have a few albums, this is going to be one of them. This covers a ton of ground through a bunch of different genres. Is a really, really good blend of a bunch of different music here. I'm really excited to see what Steven has to say. The name of that song was Beleza Puza. You want to go first?
Yeah. I'm going to come out strong out of the gate. This is a 10. This song's a 10. Okay, so I think with like a normal band, you know, like your normal whatever 4-piece band, you have, you know, your singer, guitar player, bass player, and your drummer, right? That's 4 layers. You got a cake. This is musical baklava. There are so many layers to this song that make it so great, but all of the like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like some of the layers exhibit variation, like very small variations throughout the song that adds to the feel tremendously. For example, the whistle. It sounded like someone was playing like a soccer whistle.
It was well, it's a samba whistle. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's one of the instruments. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was like a thing in samba, because it sounded like someone was saying like a regular, like, I guess whatever field whistle or whatever it is that like coaches use. Yeah, that's what it sounded like, but it was...
They're kind of similar. They're a little different pitch. There's a couple different pitches on a samba whistle.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially what we have here is kind of a blend of fusion and, you know, some of the guitar stuff going on with samba. And it is right. This is one of those times that it does 2 things and doesn't betray either one. You know, you can be a fan of samba and like this track, and you can be a fan of jazz fusion and like this track. So for me, this is also a 10. You know, this is probably, I wrote down, this has got to be one of the best starts to an album there is. You know, it's just out of the gate. It's awesome. It perfectly lays out everything else that's going on. There's a really killer drum solo in the middle, which is an extra bonus, which, you know, of course there are multiple people playing all those parts and stuff. I mean, there are, like you said, many layers building there. But you know, again, I literally wrote in my notes, this is a masterpiece. This is awesome.
Yes, simply put. I think the Afro-Latino influence, like, shot right out of the gate, and that feel carried this song so well. Like, I was like over here shifting in my chair, like wanting to move my hips, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. It's, oh my goodness. Let's see what's next.
Cool.
This is disgusting. Oh my god. Holy shit. Dude, I've been living under a rock.
Right, the name of that track was Brasilian Skies.
That felt more like Brazilian heaven. I'm not gonna lie to you. Again, it's like, it's the mixture of all the layers. It's how they all complement each other. There's these little parts where like the drummer will go off, or the keys player is just kind of going crazy for, you know, maybe half a bar or maybe a full bar, but it's never too long. But like, it's these little accents that make it so much fun. And I guess like that melody, like the vocal melody does a lot for it. It's just so much fun, and it's so like relaxing and calming all at the same time. I truly feel like I've been missing out. I like this music so much that it makes me pissed off, because where have I been?
It's kind of interesting. This just kind of popped back up. You know, it was kind of buried for a little while, and it kind of has this like retro nostalgia thing that people are really into, and that's kind of why its popularity spiked. Do you have a number in mind for this track?
Easy 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, I gave this one a 9. I always have to find something to gripe about, but the synth sounds are like cheesy. And every time I listen to this, it puts me off because the rest of the track is like perfect. And then it's a product of its era, I guess, but the synth sounds are kind of rough at points where they're playing pads. They switch to an electric piano in the middle of the song and it's all fixed.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things, I can't give an album a straight 10.
I want to hear what's next.
Cool. Track 3, Nights.
One thing I want to get out of the way. For anybody from my generation that is going to listen to this song might sound like it's straight out of like Nintendo. It might sound like a Mario Kart song. But that's why I love it. It's like that, but if they played around with it a little bit more. Going back to the layers, there's a few things that are really understated. I think the strings, with the exception of the guitar, are very understated. And I think it adds a lot to the atmosphere of the sound. Because after all, this is an arrangement at the end of the day. And it's just so well put together. I think personally, I would have to give this, comfortably an 8.5.
I put 8 3/4, 8.75. The whole thing was me. It's a little smooth for my tastes, but this is one of those times that I forgave it a little bit. Again, the synth is a little cheesy, maybe even more so than the last track. I guess since it's just a little slower, I guess it caught up a little bit, I wrote down that the guitar harmonies in this are absolutely gorgeous. Whatever they did to record the way the guitar stacks, the harmonies are really funny in a way that, like I wrote in my notes, that it almost reminded me of some of Brian May's tones in Queen.
Yeah.
With how those harmonies just cut and pinched through, which is just such a weird thing to be saying about this album when you do listen to the track. So for my...
Oh shit, I think I might have heard this one before.
You might have.
Hold the fucking phone. This is George Benson, is it? The guitar playing sounds really similar to, is it Breezin'? It sounds similar to Breezin' for some reason. The tone maybe, I don't know. There was a certain lick that he played out was like, I've heard that before.
So, interesting fact, Steven can't hear me. We got a couple more seconds. This artist did cover Breezin' on his next album. So did you think of the tune name? This is a standard. This is like a jazz standard.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what the tune name is.
Okay, this is I Remember Clifford.
Okay.
So it's originally Max Roach, written for Clifford Brown. What'd you think? Got a rating?
This was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Yeah, I gave this a 9.5.
I think the guitar carries this song, frankly. Like, of course, just as with any of the other songs, there's so much going on behind it that's supporting it. But I think overall, the story is told with the guitar, and a story is told here. I think it's one of the really beautiful things about instrumentals, is that even though there aren't words, you can most definitely tell a story with the notes.
Yeah, it's awesome. I wrote this as the right way to do a standard, at least to fit in this album.
Yeah.
I knocked this pretty much a half point just because I'm not really a ballad guy. As a drummer, I enjoy, painting textures and doing that stuff, but you're going to have a hard time making a tune played with brushes. My favorite tune on the album. And they did really good here. Just a little slower than I'd like, maybe. I don't know. It's probably right for the tune. I want everything to be really fast when it's jazz, but this is the way to do a standard and to make it grow.
Oh, I love this. I need to listen to the next song so bad. These sound like monkeys almost. Like monkeys kind of like talking to each other.
That's a cuica. I'm laughing because I'm waiting for it to hit. I'm waiting for him to figure it out.
Is he doing that? Was he doing that with a guitar? Holy shit! You're fucking kidding me. Star Wars. This is awesome.
The whole thing was Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Samba.
Oh.
So the beginning part, the slide guitar, that's the main melody.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it now. Yeah, it took me a long time to notice. I've never heard Star Wars Samba before. I think I've heard of it, I've just never heard the song. And because of that, I will not be able to guess this artist.
Okay, so you don't even know who it is now that you knew it was Star Wars Samba.
Yeah.
I was worried that would give it away.
No, I have no idea who this is.
Okay, so you have a number?
This shit was sick as hell. 9.2 out of 10.
I gave it a 9.5. This is a really good way to kind of explain to people what jazz is about taking that melody from, you know, wherever you liberated it from and making it your own.
Yeah.
So, back in the 30s, that's what guys were doing. They were taking these show tunes out of Rodgers and Hammerstein and they were making them into jazz tunes. That's how we get a lot of our jazz standards. That's the exact same thing that's going on. So the artist here just chose to take John Williams's music and make it his own.
Like I said, I didn't pick up the fact that it was Star Wars until like halfway through. Now, I think this does mesh it with the Samba style really well. And I think it's because it was meshed so well, I couldn't tell it was a Star Wars song until later on. There was this synth sound. It was, I don't even know, what would you call the opposite of a riser? Like a lower? No, but it's like, it kind of functioned as the opposite of a riser, just as like a transitionary sound that went in between like the regular melody and Leia's theme. I think it just rode out for too long. The note just sustained for kind of a ridiculous amount of time, but it kind of works with this because then it just kicked right into it, and I was like, that's Star Wars.
The transition I don't think would have made any sense otherwise, because it goes from this really high energy moment to that low energy moment.
Yeah.
And it almost like lets you take a breath. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It is kind of an interesting like musical device in that form.
All right, so this is what, track number 6?
Yeah, this is 6.
Okay. This feels very much like Parliament. I think just because of those, like the synth keys, and kind of like, it sounds funky. And so I kind of picked up that vibe from it. It was very bouncy, even though the sounds they used were bouncy, let alone the actual groove they put together with them. So kind of had you moving around. It was a little bit less busy than the other songs, which I kind of like and don't like about it. Because I think, kind of like I was saying, like the layers do a lot for this music. They kind of take some of that out here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, like I said. But no, I think overall I'd give it like an 8.5.
Cool. Yeah, I give this a 7.5. The name of this track is Disco B.
Okay.
So
yeah, I picked up on the disco early on.
Right, and that's kind of my complaint is I'm not a fan of disco. You know, a lot of the simplified drum part, the simplified bass part, a lot of that stuff is like, that's a disco thing. The reason we talked about what year this was on the last track was on purpose. Because I wanted you to go into this knowing what era this was from. I do skip this track probably about half the time when I listen through this album. I don't know, it's the one piece that doesn't feel like it's quite there in the flow of everything going on.
Want to move on to the next one? Perfect. Let's do it.
So that was Funky Holo Bird.
There were definitely bird sounds. It was very funky. Kind of also felt more disco. I think with the drum beat, that is. Just with the hi-hat and everything. I really enjoyed the song. And honestly, as a project, as an artist, I would feel extremely proud to put this out. I'm gonna give this one an 8.75.
Cool. Yeah, I gave this one an 8.25. It was definitely better than the last track. You know, the disco is still, it's still disco. But, you know, I wrote they served it to me with a side of funk this time, so I was less upset. You know, I think that's really what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and the funk helps cover the disco a little bit better in this one. It's still there. And everything else I said a minute ago in the last track, you know, it's a product of its time. That's just what it is. So I'm not going to complain about disco anymore. I did give it an extra quarter point because there's a sweet little timbale fill.
Yes.
In the middle of it that is just like when you hear it, you're like that was perfect.
That was right before I turned it up. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, and then the whistle sections are really cool, like
Yeah.
the bird stuff. Is
Yeah,
just
those are cool.
Tell me what you think, and I'll just show you the name of the track and explain it.
It's definitely a slower song. The song felt more intimate, I think. A lot less going on here. I think it was a great way to close out the project. Just because, I mean, it seems like a amicable conclusion. Just considering like the busyness of the first half and, you know, the presence of Star Wars Samba. There's so much to unpack. And with this, you know, it kind of eases the ears off of it. And so I think this was kind of, honestly, playing all of this LP straight through would make a good set, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Make a hard one, but it'd be good.
He's really good live. Yeah, I wrote down, this is a killer freaking jam. I wrote down it's baby making music that could make it on any chill playlist.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot of swagger in the rhythm section that still drives it forward, even though it is a little slow. And that's usually my complaint about some of the slower tunes. This one still drove. And I think it was just some of the rhythm section, the tightness and just everything going on.
I'm gonna give this one a solid 9.
In honor of you, I gave this one a 9.6875427.
That's nice and specific. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought you'd enjoy that. We still have to go through the album art, so don't go too far.
Oh. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect for the project itself. It's kind of comical because it's just him sitting there on the beach. No, it's exactly what it needs to be. It's simple. Now, if I were to see that at like the record store or something, I would not think that this album would hold such mystery and wonder and.
So the thing you couldn't
amazingness.
see is he's smiling like a big old goofus, which I think just makes it infinitely better. He's smiling in a way that, like, I think him and like a golden retriever.
The classic
have in
beach chair
common.
too.
I mean, yeah, he's just in a beach chair on the beach,
All white.
is wearing just straight white. So obviously he is Japanese.
King.
This album, I think that's the city pop crossover. Some of this stuff is a little more that direction. Some of it definitely is more jazz fusion. This was half recorded in Brazil, half recorded in LA. So that's where the Brazilian thing.
Okay.
You know, he's got real Brazilian percussionists playing some of those parts. Samba, batucada is kind of the genre of kind of those things. You know, check out some of that stuff if you are interested in that.
Thank you, Karl.
Go listen to this album.
Yes. And thank you, Album Book Club viewers, for joining us today on this beautiful LP review. Make sure to leave a comment if you have anything that you want us to listen to or check out. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I already said comment, but yeah, do all 3. Thanks.